Donkey Kong. We all know him. And we all know he's a pretty cool ass dude. But he's also a bastard, a gremlin, a ghoul, a criminal. And he needs to pay for his crimes. For this video, I've studied every single game Donkey Kong has been featured in, down to its code, to see what kind of crimes he's really committed. So let's take DK to the courthouse. We're gonna charge him for his crimes and see how big of a sentence this dude really deserves. Donkey Kong Country. Even in his debut game, Donkey Kong III is a scumbag. To be fair, K. Rool does steal his bananas in this game, so Donkey Kong has a valid reason to beat his ass. You could call his actions self-defense. I mean, King K. Rool's intention was to have DK starve to death anyway, so there was some killing intent behind K. Rool's actions. But I don't have a problem with Donkey Kong beating K. Rool's ass. I have a problem with DK beating K. Rool's goons' asses. Like, what did they do besides just be affiliated with K. Rool? Nothing, bro. They did nothing. But it would be very stupid of me to try to assume how many random Kremlings DK killed in this game, because at the end of the day, killing the Kremlings are optional. You can do the DKC pacifist run where you spare them all, this way you don't have to fight Sans. But what isn't optional is the bosses. You have to fight these guys. And I think this actually holds value as well, because these bosses have their own names, they're their own people, their own identities. The victims of DK here would be Very Naughty, Queen Bee, Dumb Drum, which, thinking about it now, that's just a fucking drum. I'll drop this charge, that's fine. Really Naughty, which, believe it or not, is different from the other one, just both part of the same species. And finally, the worst of all, Master Necky and Master Necky Sr. If you thought DK was justified until this point, I'd understand. I get it. But Donkey Kong beat the fuck out of this dude's kid, and then him. He assaulted a family over some banana. You walk out into the first level of Donkey Kong Country and there's already like 100 bananas to collect. There is no defending Donkey Kong's actions here. This is like 5 aggravated assault charges with deadly intent. That's gonna give our man a good 20 years in prison already, which is actually already half of the average gorilla lifespan, so it's not looking too great for the third here. Now let's hear about his other crimes in DK64. First, freeing K. Lumsy from his cell. Now, whether or not this was justified doesn't really matter. It's clearly against the law to free someone who's imprisoned if it's not in your jurisdiction. K. Rool locked this man up and Donkey Kong freed him. That right there, no matter how you spin it, is a crime. If you don't believe me, try it in real life and see what happens. So we're going to give him another 5 years for obstruction of justice this time. Now for the bosses in DK64, I'm actually going to give DK the benefit of the doubt here and not charge him. Only one of the bosses in the game is actually fought by DK himself, the rest are done by other Kongs. So you'd think I'd charge him for assaulting Armadillo here, but just by taking a look at this thing, this definitely looks like reasonable self-defense. This isn't just a bee or just a beaver. This is a threat. He just comes out and instantly starts shooting, bro. So I'll give him a pass, he's acquitted on this one. But before we move on to the next game, let's take a good look at DK himself. Do you see the issue I'm seeing? This, right here? Public indecency. All he's wearing is a tie. But since he's wearing a tie, he knows what clothes are. So why is he not wearing other articles of clothing? And maybe you think that's stupid. Maybe you think, oh, well, just because he wears a tie doesn't necessarily mean he knows what a shirt or pants are. And you know, I'd agree with that. But the other Kongs know what shirts and pants are. I can show you a good amount of Kongs that live on DK Island that are fully clothed. So why is Donkey Kong the exception to this? He shouldn't be. Put on some fucking clothes, man. I'm gonna give him 3 years for this, cause he's been unclothed for way too damn long. Now we enter the weird era of Donkey Kong games, like not super mainline stuff. I had to research shit like Donkey Konga, where in this game he just finds a magical pair of bongos at the beach and decides to steal them. Now I assume there was a previous owner of these bongos, but I do believe in the rule of finders keepers, and the previous owner is never stated, so this charge really wouldn't go anywhere anyway. He's not guilty in Donkey Konga, but he's definitely guilty in Mario vs. Donkey Kong. The plot around this game revolves around DK stealing Mario toys. Because for some reason DK is just obsessed with these new Mario toys that dropped, but when he goes to the store to decide to buy them, they're just completely out of stock, which makes him so angry, so fumed, that he decides to break into the Mario toy factory and just start nabbing shit. He steals an entire sack's worth of Mario toys. Now, the price is never stated for how expensive these toys are, so it's kind of hard to get a fully accurate charge. But we have to keep in mind that these toys are damn near sentient robots, and they also look like Mario, so I imagine they sell for a higher price than you'd actually expect. Either way, he stole an entire sack's worth of these things, so I think it's pretty reasonable to assume that there's at least $1,000 of stolen goods in this bag. Which means I think we can get away with giving him 1 year for a grand theft. But if you were underwhelmed by that charge, don't be, because this dude really is a gremlin in this game. So a bit into the game, after Mario chases him for a while, he realizes he dropped all of the toys while running away. This makes DK, pretty angry, so he decides to do what any reasonable person in this scenario would do. He kidnaps 3 toads, then takes them up a building. This took a pretty fucking insane turn, I'd say, from taking toys to lives. This is just 100% kidnapping, which in this case there should be 3 charges of kidnapping for each toad. 24 more years for this one, buddy. But it still doesn't end. Later in the game, Donkey Kong falls off a building onto a Mario Toy Company shipping truck, and then decides to rob the truck afterward, stealing even more toys. This is again hard to sentence, but shit man, we can't let him get away with this. I think we give him 2 more years here. 1 for the truck and 1 for the toys he stole out of the truck. But we have another scenario in this game that's worth talking about. The last fight he has with Mario. Now, I'm not going to charge him for these fights since Mario does instigate them, but I will add he does have his reasons. He's kind of getting robbed over and over. But why I bring this up is because Donkey Kong chooses to fight Mario in this giant mech. I'm going to be 1000% honest with you. There is no way in hell Donkey Kong built this himself. I feel like he didn't get this mech by ordinary means. And I feel like I'm valid for thinking that considering his stealing record in this game. But I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. The robot does look like a monkey, so maybe he just found it on Donkey Kong Island somewhere. I'll acquit him on the giant mech robbery charge. But Jesus Christ, DK was a real asshole in this game, man. And Mario was so nice to him. At the end of the game, Mario even gives DK a free Mario toy, even after everything this dumbass did to him in this game. Kind of shows how good of a guy Mario really is. Maybe game theory was wrong. But now, next case. Let's take a look at the Subspace Emissary in Super Smash Bros. Brawl. In this cutscene, Bowser's trying to turn Diddy Kong into a trophy with the power of the Dark Cannon. So Donkey Kong makes a noble sacrifice to save Diddy Kong, and it ends up in Donkey Kong turning into a trophy instead. But I'd argue this rescue attempt isn't as wholesome as you'd think, because the way DK saved Diddy was to fucking punch him out of this world. Like, I think this is attempted murder. Donkey Kong charged this punch up. Diddy Kong gets punched so far that he literally turns into a star in the distance. He couldn't have just pushed him out the way, or even throwing him down the mountain would have been a less severe way to get him out of firing range. I'm completely convinced this was Donkey Kong's way to try and murder Diddy Kong. Diddy Kong does survive, so again it's attempted murder. He didn't actually kill him. But I think it's pretty reasonable to assume he probably should have died from this. 9 years, attempted first-degree murder. But hold on, Brawl DK is still a little guilty. Much later in the game, DK just picks up a Rob and takes him. And I'm not talking like one of the random Robs from the story mode, because there are a lot of Robs that are pretty much just robots. But he decides to kidnap the one and only sentient Rob. The only one that could actually think for himself, and he just took him. Which if he's sentient, then you kind of have to consider this kidnapping. I mean, the dude can think for himself. He didn't want to go with Donkey Kong, simple as that, really. So bam, another kidnapping charge. Now watch this one, I'm gonna pull this next one out my ass. Boom, Donkey Kong Country, Rumble in the Jungle, this random book I just found at the book fair. I'm gonna be completely honest, this book is not as entertaining as some of those Fever Dream Mario stories I've shown before, so I'll skip the synopsis of the book and go straight into the crimes he's committed. What has Donkey Kong done here? On 3 separate occasions, he decides to grab a TNT barrel and just chuck it at some shit. Let's go in order. In the first scenario, he needs to free Funky Kong from his cell, so he uses a TNT barrel to explode the lock and free Funky Kong. But that's baby shit compared to what happens next. Donkey Kong climbs through an air vent, and then up a cable through an elevator shaft, which leads him to the Big Ape City's defense system. I'm in awe. Honestly, how do you even charge this? Realistically, this is probably a life sentence, maybe even death,
This is endangering an entire city and group of people.
It's just so irresponsible. You can't really excuse this. I don't think I'll give him the death sentence because there were no injuries, there was none stated. But I do think a life sentence is pretty fair here. So let's add that one to the counter real quick.
But the nonsense doesn't even stop there. For his third and final act of this game, he plants a bunch of time-delayed TNT barrels onto K. Rool's blimp, which obviously then explodes the blimp. But then the blimp falls onto a factory, causing an even greater explosion. K. Rool wasn't in the blimp, he was able to escape, thank God.
But I think this does deserve the death sentence.
For the whole giant explosion decimating part of the city thing, no big deal, really. This is definitely some sort of war crime. And on top of that, I'm going to add one extra year for destroying the blimp, because if you didn't know, blimps are very expensive. So now we're done with the books, but there's always more to explore. Let's go deeper into the bargain bin at Walmart. And let me pull up a few games here that I bought for about $4 each. This one didn't even have a price tag on it, I just kind of walked out with it. Bullshit aside, I'm going to do these quickly because they aren't that interesting. We just got to charge him for the crimes he's committed, then go. Mario vs. Donkey Kong 2. The opening of this game really does look like a shitpost. It's really funny to me, but this is real. Donkey Kong gets angry that Pauline likes Mario's toy more than his own toy, so he kidnaps her. Sure, reasonable response, I guess. Not the first time he's gotten this charge, and it probably won't be the last. It does turn out, though, that he was actually keeping her in a very nice room with lots of gifts, but that doesn't actually change the fact that she was abducted. So there's not really much saving DK here, but at least Mario forgives him. They even form an orchestra soon after and play a song with all their little toys playing instruments. Right after the kidnapping and everything. Mini March again. The plot of this one is like the first two mixed together. It's impressive how lazy it is, actually. But yeah, he kidnaps Pauline again, but at the end it's revealed that he didn't actually kidnap Pauline at all. It was all a secret test to see how well the Mario toys functioned, and Mario just wasn't aware. This pisses me off, actually. I almost want to give DK a charge for wasting my time, but whatever, he's acquitted from this charge. Next, we got Mini Land Mayhem. Dude, this frame of Donkey Kong is so cool. He's just so raw in it. I almost want to lighten his sentence for this. But I must be fair, he kidnapped Pauline again. But it was for real this time, so we can charge him. This time it was because they were out of Pauline toys. Next one, Minnie's on the move. He does nothing, he's okay here. He just runs an arcade with Pauline. Great, wholesome. Let's give him 2 hours community service. Now the final game in this series, thank God, Tipping Stars. Now in this game, he kidnaps Pauline again, in like one of the worst looking cutscenes I've ever seen in a game. They might have actually used the $4 from my bargain bin to make this game. That might have been the budget. Either way, yes, he kidnaps her, but it was fake again. It's a surprise party, I guess. Okay, that's fun. But look, it's all okay. We're in the final stretch now, ladies and gentlemen. Our hearing is almost over. But I've purposely saved the most heinous and interesting crimes for last. Starting with Donkey Kong Jungle Beat. How about we take a quick look at the game's manual to get a quick synopsis of the game real quick, get ourselves a little familiar. Pound anything that gets in DK's way as he conquers the kingdoms and becomes the king of the jungle lands. That's right, in this game Donkey Kong goes to 16 different kingdoms and overthrows their governments by beating the shit out of their rulers. In total, he assaults 18 different world leaders of the Mario world in an attempt to expand the size of his kingdom. This is without a doubt several war crimes. Since it's not specifically stated what land Cactus King rules over, I'm not going to give DK the full war crime charge for beating up Cactus King, but I'll still give him a charge for aggravated assault with deadly intent. But for the sake of our other 17 rulers here, I'm going to have to add 17 death sentences to Donkey Kong's charges for overthrowing multiple governments. Each kingdom is unique, they all have their own names. Even if the designs are stupid for their rulers, he definitely did this. Donkey Kong is 100% guilty on this charge. I was playing Mario Party 5 just the other day, and I found out that Donkey Kong was trying to run for Secretary of Defense. I didn't know why then, but now I think I have a pretty good idea. Donkey Kong, you are not getting my vote. Now let's get serious. Let's talk about baseball, dude. Mario Super Sluggers. You might think this is a complete 180 from the whole world domination thing, but hear me out. This one involves Luigi, and I know a couple of people that get pretty serious about him. So in the opening cutscene of Mario Sluggers, Donkey Kong rams Luigi pretty fucking hard into the wall. With how far Luigi flies from this, I'd say this was definitely intentional. Maybe not meant to kill like Diddy Kong, but Luigi could press charges if he wanted here. Flying across the grass into a wall because you got shoved by a gorilla, a lot of people would realistically die from this. But the problem here is that it was during a professional sports game. With all the waivers the players would have to sign, it would actually be really hard for Luigi to actually win a case over this assault. But this is bad press and the fans are going to be upset, so I say we compromise and give DK a 3-game suspension from this season of Mario Baseball for almost killing Luigi. I think that about covers it. Donkey Kong Country Returns. I was saving this one, bro. Just wait. In this game, the Tiki-Tak tribe wakes up from their slumber and they try to take over Donkey Kong Island. They hypnotize a bunch of animals living on the island with music and steal all of DK's bananas. Now we know DK takes his bananas very seriously, so he's going to act. But this time he acts in a way we've never seen before. To defeat the tribe, Donkey Kong decides to punch the moon out of orbit, and he sends it hurtling toward Earth to kill the entire tribe. The moon lands on their base and they're defeated. Now I say they're defeated, but these guys never appear in another game again, and considering how they lost, I think it's fair to say Donkey Kong killed all of them. And if that's the case, that would make Donkey Kong guilty of genocide. We 100% have to give him a life sentence for that. But it doesn't end with the Tiki-Tak tribe. No, not at all. Remember, the moon got pushed out of orbit and onto Earth itself. And if you didn't know, without the moon, all life on Earth would be in danger. Every single species would be in danger. Every species would probably die, is what I'm trying to say. So Donkey Kong has now killed the entire world's population. I will say I don't think he planned to do this. He's just a dumbass after all. But I still think that should count for an involuntary manslaughter charge. So with that, I'm sentencing Donkey Kong III for 8 billion counts of involuntary manslaughter. And that will be all. Take Donkey Kong to his cell at once, and I bid you adieu. Donkey Kong truly is a danger to the entire Mario world. But actually, I just got an update. I just found this Facebook post he made back in 2013 about him telling us we should carpool to save the world, and oh my god. I'm so sorry, DK. That was on me, man. I should have listened to what you had to say as well, dude. You know what? I forgive Donkey Kong for his crimes. We're done beefing. Me and DK, like this. We're best friends again, and we always will be. I love you, Donkey Kong, and I always will.